MedBricks Webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present-day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry about present-day healthcare challenges on our live programming.
And welcome you all. This is Ramana Annamaraju, the host. So I'm not a MedBricks webcast host. No, I'm not Albert Einstein, but I'm pretty good. So welcome you all. This is a very exciting program we have today. I'm going to talk about the cancer situation in India, how the cancer state of the affairs of the cancer in India. We're going to talk with the leading oncologist there today with Dr. Suresh Attili. He is going to be joining with us soon. And before that, after introducing him, I'm going to present a topic on a very distinguished scientist, like almost Dr. Attili, is Dr. C.V. Raman. C.V. Raman is a scientist from India. He won the Nobel Prize and he made enormous contributions to, is still contributing to science and medicine quite a bit. And I'll tell you what are the advances that Raman discoveries are doing in the field of medicine. But let me, this is a very, I started this program 6 months ago. It's catching up and people are liking it. So it is a kind of a new kind of a way of doing things. I introduce different positions and then introduce a different concept I introduce through the lens of physics, mathematics, and chemistry, arts and technology. Then I introduce him back to the guest. We're going to this time. I'm going to do a little bit different. I'm going to at the end, after I finishing all the interviews, I'm going to introduce some music from a different parts of the world. It's related to why we belong to the same planet. We need to care about it. So it's a different music from different parts. And then I'm going to introduce a very interesting music introduction for you. She's a friend of mine, but I will introduce. I'm going to play that. Let me introduce you, Dr. Suresh Attili. He is from a continent hospital. He's an oncologist. He's a medical oncologist. He has he did a 480 bone marrow transplants. He did think about that. 6,000 cases annually. He looks at cancer cases in India. He published 268 academic publications, 6 textbooks. 9 is on the editorial board of the 9 journals. Top 100 oncologists in India. Think about that. He is a very distinguished career. And let me bring him to the main stage. Welcome, Dr. Attili. Welcome to the MedBricks webcast.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here, Ramana sir. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me and great introduction.
You look still very young. You have all the credentials, super excellent credentials you have. So a lot of people, we want to know in this country, a lot of NRIs, a lot of physicians, and a lot of other people, the state of the affairs in the cancer in India. So let us talk about the accessibility. So what is the cancer situation in India? Are there any new cases? Is it more prevalent in cancer or less prevalent or less diagnosis? What are the situation in India about the cancer detection and the treatment side?
So let me split this question for convenience of answering into few parts. Number one, the landscape of cancer since I started my career in 2002, that is almost 21 years ago. So far, it changed significantly. More number of cases we are treating today. So I cause it, number one, probably better access to the diagnostics. Number two, the government schemes came to offer relatively free treatment. Number three, the number of oncologists have increased. When I was a student, there were 12 medical oncologist seats per India. Now we have 200. And when I came to Hyderabad, there are six practicing medical oncologists. Now 100 people are there. So more physicians are there, more number of hospitals are there. So the increased burden partly is contributed to the lifestyle and actual increase in numbers, partly because we are diagnosing more number of patients. Previously, they used to die without diagnosis, but we are treating, curing, and caring more number of patients. So the first part belongs to the enhanced diagnostics that led to increased numbers. So that's where India has seen significant change. On
So
the
let me ask you about let me ask you
yeah.
about the enhanced diagnosis. So how many to diagnose one of the biggest instrument of, besides the pathology, you need to know molecular diagnostics. Then you need a PET CT scans. You have and CT and MRIs. You have enough of them for to address all the patients in the state in the country.
So the picture is still not very perfect, but it is unevenly distributed. In Hyderabad, we have total 9 PET scans, but if you go 100 kilometers down to Warangal or Khammam, you hardly have any. So I think the access is there. The numbers are good in tier 3 cities. We have all molecular diagnostics, whatever best in the world, we have access to them, but only in the metro cities and high-end towns, but not in the rural areas.
How many
There is
PET CTs in Hyderabad? How many PET CTs in Hyderabad?
nine in the hospitals, four in the diagnostic centers, total 13.
Okay. Not bad. So that is you're saying that there are reasonably enough number of oncologists, reasonable number of diagnostic equipment is there to take care of the population in India. That's a huge progress. When I left India, that was a very we are in the different state itself and your father's time. Um, Second question I have is the quality of the care. Is it standardized? Is the care is standardized across the India? Is there any board that standardizes the cancer care, or everybody has their own island treating their own way?
The answer is again, the second part of your question is more appropriate. We have islands of treatment in India, and I can say bigger island is institutionalized, and smaller islands practice the way they want it. So institutes like Tata Memorial Hospital, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, large hospital chains, we follow the global guidelines like NCCP or we follow ASCO guidelines or ESMO guidelines. Each hospital will adopt its own guidelines and customize it for the Indian population. We have different genes, we have different environment. We can't apply this science of the Western world or the African countries to India. So as vice versa also. We have our own genes and climate and lifestyle, and it has to be adopted or personalized. That's what most of the institutes did. And in India, we have ICMR guidelines, that is Indian Council of Medical Research. All the government hospitals, the national institutes follow those. The private institutes still have their own whims and fancies, how they want to practice. Yes, I can say 80% standardized, 20% yet to come on board.
Would they enforce these kind of thing in rigorous way, or the standardized boards? Do they enforce it? They come down and check and quality standards and everything. Do they check everything there, or is it left it to hospital itself?
So it is predominantly voluntary in India as on now, and you can opt for something called NABH, National Accreditation Board for Hospitals, which is not specific to the oncology, but they focus more on patient safety, adherence to the internal protocols. It's not like I need to follow the protocol which ICMR says, but I need to define what I am following. So, yeah, there is a significant diversity or variation in the protocols from hospital to hospital, but it's predefined. I follow what I define in consensus with my other colleagues and experts.
The Just a minute. I will ask you the second questions. I'm going to ask you affordability. what is people, how can the cancer is a very expensive process, expensive proposition, in fact, is one of the expensive diagnosis. How do they people can afford cancer care in India? What are the mechanisms available for them, for the general overall population there?
So again, the patient population is different across different. India is a very big country. You know it, right? Starting from the northeast to the southern India to the western India, we have different access, different types of cancers. If you go to the northeast India, you have more of oral cancers, whereas in the southern India, we have more of gastric cancers. It's not uniform. So it's very difficult to answer the question in one word, but I can just bucket them into few things. One, those who are government employees, they have insurance from the governments. We call it a central government health scheme, retired army scheme. There are some 4 or 5 schemes are there. Private insurance players, that's again another 10%. Government employees 10%. So that makes 20%. And 15-20% are employment state insurance. That means those who are having 10 to 20,000 rupees salary per month. So there is a separate scheme for them. It's unlimited. So they get anything, government pays the cost. So I mean, if I had to translate, it's close to maybe $400 or $300 per month. Quite low income. Okay, those people government takes care. And those who are below poverty line, there are something like Ayushman Bharat. So that covers for free cancer treatment and diagnostics for 60% of the Indian population, around 55 to 60. You are left with 10% who belong nowhere. That's where the real struggle comes. They don't know and they don't know how to go, where to go, sort of thing. So that 10-15% still are deprived.
It is any like a teachers union. Suppose, for example, it is a teachers union, uh, or some unions. They have their own kind of a pool of money. They do allocate for each one. Is there any system like that in India?
In healthcare system, it is not. Previously it was, but in healthcare system it is not, because government has taken the responsibility. They deduct the money, and it is because it's like a government is forcing you, or it is taking the insurance premium from your salary.
Okay.
So yeah, it's something like that.
So it's reasonably covered. Most of the 1.4 billion people in India are reasonably covered. They may not have an aggressive diagnosis process there, but screening process. But that is. I wanted to ask you the others. For the fifth one is the screening itself. How widespread or how not widespread at all the screening process in India?
Screening is very, very primitive. Let me tell you, that is the reason why, with so much efforts from the government and NGOs for free treatment, first of all, you need to get diagnosed, right?
Correct.
So people don't get diagnosed. I mean, so that's unfortunate part of it. They are in rural India, they don't know what are the cancer symptoms. Awareness is very, very, very bad. That's where the I mean, they think weight loss is okay, and change of voice is okay, bleeding per vaginum is okay, lumps in breasts are okay. So for them, everything is okay, right? They don't have the sensitivity, or what we call as they don't seek the medical attention. So few NGOs are there who go reach out to the people. Recently, we also started using handheld devices, using artificial intelligence to screen the cancers, because very difficult to educate everyone. So if mission does half the job, and remaining half can be done by the expert. We have oral cancer screening devices, cervical cancer, which are the top two in India, by the way. Oral and head and neck is number one in India. Number two is breast. Number three is cervix.
Is it
So
okay? Let me ask you the question on the
yeah.
oral cancer, the cancers. Is it what with your experience? Is it as you? I saw that one word. I loved it. That sentence. The genetics load the gun, and your lifestyle start the triggering. It's very interesting. It's quote. What do you explain to that? And what kind of cancers are more prevalent in the different parts of the country? And then we'll talk about breast cancer a little bit.
Right. So the prevalence of these cancers, is depending upon their lifestyles. In general, the patients of darker skin have tougher genes. Just to explain, I tell to my students like this. So, like accidents happen if you overspeed or if your brakes fail, right? And cancer is an accident. So the cell loses the growth. It keeps on going, 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 and hits the wrong place. So the accelerating genes are proto-oncogenes. And India is blessed with less number of proto-oncogenes. Our genetics are stronger. Whereas the brakes, you have one leg brake and hand brake. So there are two tumor suppressor genes. India is not that fortunate in having very strong tumor suppressor gene controls compared to the Western world. So
Hmm.
we have the problem on the gene side, if you look at that. And lifestyle is the culprit. Most of the people start tobacco at the age of 12 to 13 years. Imagine, teens.
It still
Teens.
is a big problem with tobacco.
Major, major. Most of my patients in head and neck cancers, I see them in 25 years.
Hmm.
They marry, they have 2 years kid, they come crying with a stage 3 cancer, stage 4 cancer. They feel, and tobacco, the palm, that colors it. So the
Yeah.
ulcer is very difficult to identify. Very, very unfortunate situation there. The oral cancer, which is number one, is misdiagnosed because the lifestyle, they eat tobacco, they smoke.
Do
I'm
they
so sorry.
government?
Yeah, I'm so sorry for deviating too much.
No, 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 but that's very important. Is the
Yeah.
government is doing anything raising taxes or raising the prices on the tobacco or raising the prices on the tobacco chewing the it kind of are they imposing some kind of restrictions on this process or they left it to the market?
Yeah, government is doing its bit of increasing the taxes on tobacco, but it is pushing the people to poverty. They are not quitting the habit. So,
So
so
it's a
they're adding
cultural
to the
change.
addiction phase.
It requires a
Yeah,
cultural change. A lot of
very
educational
rightly
cultural
said.
change.
Very rightly said. Cultural change is the word. I really love that word. We want a cultural change to happen. It doesn't happen overnight, we know, but we need to keep on our efforts on, right? And so as the southern Indian population, still I belong to South India. I don't complete my meal without a pickle, and I know that my stomach is at risk of cancer. Okay, so the people from the cold part, that is northern part of the India, they eat a lot of raw or unprocessed peanuts. They have a lot of liver cancers, right?
Hmm.
So it's very, very unique. The Punjab belt is at risk of gallbladder cancer. We are number two in the world in gallbladder cancer, still 2010, and we are number one in the world in 2020.
What was the reason you think? What is what is the reason you
The
think the prevalent of gallbladder cancer?
So I told you, the Punjab people, the northern part, Punjab, Haryana, and those people have a gene that predisposes, that cannot control the cancer formation in the gallbladder. That's one reason. And lifestyle, very, very important. You know. So again,
Someone
going back
mentioned
to
to
the quote,
me. Someone mentioned to me the fertilizers. They use a lot of fertilizers in Punjab. That is triggering this mechanism of the gallbladder, the cancers more in Punjab. Is that contributing factor? You think?
yes, definitely, undoubtedly. A lot of fertilizers cause not only gallbladder cancer, they also cause blood cancers. So very common in Punjab region and Haryana region, that the UP belt.
I had a story or real, I don't know. There's a train goes from Punjab to some other surgical hospital somewhere. The full of cancer patients. Is that true or have you heard about it?
Absolutely true.
Huh?
Absolutely true. The train with 30% to 40% people occupied by the cancer and their family members. Absolutely true.
So
And second thing,
they go from the state of Punjab to a place where they get treatments in different places. So the train is full of cancer patients.
you are right. Punjab is now having a lot of cancer centers. Still, the culture is there to go to those hospitals.
Interesting. You're really educating us quite a bit, Dr. Tilly. Thank you. When I come back, I will ask you one more question before I go to the presentation. I want to ask you about the breast cancer. In the United States, the breast cancer is a very prevalent, particularly among women. 1 in 10 women may get a cancer, breast cancer, in fact. So it's a very high prevalent. Do you see that prevalence in India? Is the breast cancer one of the leading killers for the woman?
The answer is absolutely right. It is a leading cancer in India in 2020, right? We have 13% of all cancers contributed by the breast cancer compared to 10% in the West. So we have more incidents than in the West. More unfortunate part is Indian breast cancers happen 10 years earlier than Western breast cancers. So we develop earlier, we develop faster breast cancers. Biologically, they are bad, they happen early, they present at advanced stage, they are more prevalent. All of them, the odds are against the Indian subpopulation in terms of breast cancer part of it. But yeah, I mean, just to say that currently the mammogram is picking up well, and we are, I can say, having more screening happening at a rural area that is partially protective.
So there was a myth that India doesn't have too many breast cancer. That's a myth, basically. Is that they can all the diseases are always equally distributed around the world.
Right,
Right?
right.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. It's a myth. It's absolute myth. We do have a lot of breast cancers.
Thank you so much. Just to stay on the line, and I'll present to the CV Raman thing. After that, I will come back and ask you about your role in the Continental Hospital. What do you do, day-to-day job, and how do they get in touch with you in case NRIs come to India or any other thing? They can. What is your services up there? Just let me present to the cancer. Me and you are going to watch together
Sure.
on the sidelines. Oh, just a minute. Okay. So I'm going to present to CV Raman. This is a so what is a Raman is a scientist from India. His application in healthcare. I'm going to talk about drug discovery side, cancer diagnostics, nanomedicine, clinical biology, forensics. These are all his contributions coming to light. He was an he was died in 1970. Still, his contributions still coming up now. It is a state of the art contributions. That is a so before this, let me get back to the CV Raman. I want to talk about a show in the United States in 1990. I used to watch the show. Are you smarter than a fifth grader? There's a show. It's called Why Sky is Blue. Either your kids will ask you, usually if your son or daughter will ask you, why dad, why sky is blue? Why sunset is red? Is that this kind of questions? It looks very trivial, but the answers could be very complex. So that is a Jeff Foxworthy is a host, is a comedian. He used to be making fun of all these older people who cannot even answer. The fifth graders were answering better than adults. So that was a great show. So these are the questions they used to ask. The kids ask all these questions, but the answers are as not as simple as people think. Is the reason the sky is blue is this scholar Lord Riley from England. He gave explanation to that why, because the electromagnetic spectrum of the sun has a white light that was actually explained by Newton itself. They go into the seven colors. White light is a combination of seven colors. So, but when it hits the Earth's atmosphere, what it is a blue in the visible spectrum. They're just a part of the visible spectrum. I'm not talking about X-rays, gamma rays, or ultraviolet rays. Just the things that we can see in that spectrum. The blue light. So it actually in the middle of the day, what happens is they are scattered much more because the dust particles and the oxygen, nitrogen that is in the atmosphere, the smaller wavelength than this waves. So what happens? They scatter more, they hit more because they vibrate more. The blue light vibrates more. So that is they hit the more particles, and then you can see the blue light because the blue light is the one that you predominantly see. The red light pass through, the other colors pass through. You don't see them. So in the middle of the day, you see sky is blue because the reflection of this Earth's atmosphere, the blue spectrum is reflecting from there. That's why you see. In the evening time, you see the red color. Same thing is with the sun and the earth are at different positions now. So it has to go longer distances. The sun's light has to go through longer distances. By the time the blue light goes, and by the time it doesn't even reach the earth. So, but the red light reaches the earth. That's what you see. That you see in the evening time. That's called a Lord Rayleigh. Is aristocratic family from a royal family from Prince Charles family. Lord Rayleigh. He discovered it. He's a physicist. Fortunately, I'm a physicist, and Dr. Attili's father is a physicist from my home, close to my hometown. Probably he was my teacher. I don't know. He was a junior lecturer probably. He's not that much older than me, but So his late father was a physics lecturer. I can see why he's so smart. So the reflections of the sky. So one day there is C.V. Raman, the scientist, is going from India to England. He is coming from England. He attended a science congress and then coming back to, at the time we are under the British rule. Remember, we are under the British rule. So he's coming back to India by ship. Then they know why they were thinking until that is why Washington is a blue, because it is reflecting the sky. That is not true. What C.V. Raman realized, it is different than that explanation. It is not the reflection of the sky, the light itself interacting with the ocean, and the blue light is coming out, and then the other light passing through. So that is, if you go actually deeper into the ocean, you see much more deeper blue colors, much deep, dark blue you can see. So it is not the reflection of the sky, it is interaction of the light with the matter, light with the water. That is what is causing the ocean blue. But he found something different. It's called Raman scattering. 1 in 1 million photons, what it does, they interact with the matter itself. Light and matter interact. 1 in 1 million photons. They interact each other. And then some of them are, when they reflect, most of the time they reflect. They don't do anything. So that's why when you see in the mirror, you see directly yourself, because all of the light is reflected back. But 1 in 1 million photons interact with the matter itself. Either it gains the energy or loses the energy and reflects back. It gives you a reflection back. So Raman spectroscopy, Raman scattering was he discovered. They said that 1 in 1 million photons, that they interact with the matter itself, and they give you either it gains the energy or it loses the energy, that reflected matter. So that's what he reflected light either gains energy or loses the energy. That is the Raman effect. That's called a Raman discovery. Raman, that's a different name to it. It is called a Raman scattering. But I'm going to play. So when he discovered that, he submitted his proposal. Immediately, Robert Wood from John Hopkins is a famous physicist. Robert Wood, he immediately validated the Raman spectroscopy, Raman scattering, and then they awarded him Nobel Prize. Raman was awarded Nobel Prize in 1930. So he was awarded in 1930. Let me show you some video of him. I'm going to play video. Okay, so I'm going to put.
His name is Chandrasekhara Venkata Raman. He was born in Tiruchirappalli, state of Tamil Nadu, India. His name is long with numerous alphabets, but get used for it, because the next few decades belongs to this man. He is descending from heavens to destroy cancer. Just not cancer, he is omnipresent in every field: science, medicine, technology.
Can you put a mute on your? Can you put a mute, Dr. Attili? Yeah,
I'm on mute already.
Oh, thank you. That's good enough. Thank you so much.
And even theology. Welcome to the world of Raman gadgets. Raman probe. Point Raman probe to anyone and just click flash, just as you do on your phone. It gives instant result that person has a cancer or not. No elaborate testing, no other diagnostic testing required. Cancer detection in seconds. Raman pen. Raman pen, point and click at the finger and tell you the blood sugar levels instant. No more shedding of blood drops by millions of diabetic patients. Raman scanner. Just place your hand gently on the Formanex Raman scanner. It gives you the fruit and vegetable intake and in correlation with the antioxidant activity in your body. By monitoring antioxidant levels may help you to prevent some diseases. Raman inspector. Raman inspector, and a handheld instrument, is an invaluable tool for law enforcement. Just point and click, it identifies the counterfeit drugs. Just point and click and can tell you it is a cocaine or any other illegal substance on the spot. No labs, no other testing required. Just point and click and can tell you right there if it is a hair gel or explosive material in the container without opening it. Raman reporter. Just point and click and instantly tell you if that is a true Picasso or not. No other verification required. This is done deal. It is just taught. Raman optical tweezers, Raman microscope, Raman true narc, Raman imaging, Raman hyper, Raman transition, the list goes on. His name is truly omnipresent. This is not a science fiction. This is an extraordinary brilliance of a strikingly tall and dark handsome man from 19th century India. Hello, my name is Ramana Anamaraju and I have a passion for physics, specialized in allied healthcare and above all concern for all well-being of humanity. Sir Chandrasekhara Venkata Raman, usually referred as C.V. Raman, was born in 1888 near Chennai, India, and died in 1970. He discovered groundbreaking quantum phenomena in the field of optics while he was working as a professor of physics at University of Calcutta, India. He was knighted in 1929 by Queen of England and awarded Nobel Prize in 1930, first non-Caucasian ever to win in the field of science. His discovery is called Raman effect or Raman spectroscopy or Raman scattering, which are named after him. We only see objects, including people, when light falls on them and reflect back to our eye. But once in a while, the reflected light also gives stunning details about the molecular and atomic structure of the reflected matter, like a rotational and vibrational energies of the molecules or atoms. This unique reflection was discovered by C.V. Raman and it is referred as a Raman scattering, along with few other names. With humans, Raman scattering gives exquisite details about the cell structure and its function like no other modality we ever seen before. Raman effect is the only way you can identify rotten apple from real ones without touching, smelling or cutting. This non-destructive method is unique to Raman discovery, so thus makes an invaluable tool in the field of medical diagnostics without exposure to any radiation. A perfect tool for law enforcement without opening containers to check for explosives. A perfect method to check the authenticity of the age-old art without using any chemicals. Raman scattering analyzes vibrational and rotational spectra of the target material by using a non-destructive method. Cancer. At present, one of the most advanced methods of detecting cancer is through positron emission tomography, referred as a PET scan. This highly expensive and complicated equipment occupies 10,000 square foot office building or placed on 18-wheelers. The average cost for this procedure is around $4,000. Imagine exam that combines into a single scan the diagnostic imaging power of 10 PET studies, each measuring an essential dimension of cancer's aggressiveness, metastatic potential, and susceptibility to the radio and chemotherapy at the cost less than $25. Raman spectrometer, handheld Raman spectrometer can deliver that punch with a style. By attaching gold nanoparticles to the cancer cells, Raman spectrometer hunts every one of the cancer cells, identifies them and kills them with a nano-heated guided missiles. Well-respected magazine Diagnostic Imaging describes Raman spectroscopy, a quantum physics technique puts all
preceding medical imaging modalities to shame. Raman, the cancer avenger, descended from heavens to rescue mankind from this fatal disease. Raman puts cancer detection is at our fingertips, figuratively and literally. C.V. Raman may be Hindu, but his discovery recanted the rituals in the church that happened centuries ago during early Christianity with stunning details. Santorio delle Peregrina, 13th century historical church sitting near beautiful Cantabrian mountains in Spain. The church completely lost its original Romanesque mudéjar brick architecture through centuries of rituals and tourism. It is impossible to recreate the original architecture with all its colors and beauty since there was no historical data available. Raman spectroscopy came as a surprise savior for the church. Raman spectroscopy took layer by layer the centuries of environmental destruction, the dust left by oil lamps in 13th century rituals, natural decay of the bricks. Raman's Raman spectroscopy brought back the original image of the architecture with the stunning details. In recent years, 13th century Pilgrim Church was remodeled to its original architecture with all its beauty and grandeur. Thanks to Sir Chandrasekhara Venkata Raman, a true scientist and a true patriot of India. In the field of medicine, Raman spectroscopy coming with a true revolution. You can literally test for cancer with the handheld instruments at primary care offices or even at a boutique drugstores in coming years. By catching the disease such an early stage dramatically reduces the cost of this fatal disease. A man from heaven gave a remarkable gift to humans. I am proud to share part of his name. Thank you for listening.
So let me just going to give you a rundown and quick rundown. So the reason was the Raman effect was not very popular for a while. It went in hiding, in a hibernation. The reason was the 1 in 1 million photons. Nobody can do anything with it. So it's very impossible to get any information. After the invention of the lasers in 1960, the Bell Labs was invented the lasers. After that, Raman effect came to the light. That's they could use the laser is a light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation that is amplifying the light so that you could use ultraviolet amplify the ultraviolet rays. You can use that and those kind of things they use and to get the Raman effect much more so they can extract the more information about the Raman spectroscopy, the vibrational rotational spectrums. So the lasers helped us to give the Raman spectroscopy a boost. That's why there's spectacularly large number of probes I was mentioning about it. They work on the vibrational rotational spectrum of the molecules. So when the light falls on you, the laser beam falls on you, our cells vibrate. That vibrational spectrum you can tell when compared to the normal cell and the of the diseased cell. You compare the vibrational spectrum and see which one is it is a sick or not. So that's why you can detect cancer without opening surgeries and all those things. You don't need a PET CT scan. Eventually, that is our goal. So actually, there was a woman, it's a friend, Mary Lou Jepson from Silicon Valley. She's developing a MRI kind of thing that she can look at it, all the MRI quality images through a headband, basically. So it is coming. It's soon from Silicon Valley. So Raman effect is one in one. That's the reason that was a little bit difficult. Actually, Raman probe now they are using it in John Hopkins. You can use that pan while you're doing surgery to detect cancers. Particularly, we can ask Dr. Attili. So those cancers are very hard to operate. Some of the inoperable cancers. So now we can detect and see, and then you can guide it through this Raman probe they're using in. So Dr. Henry Brem is a professor of neurosurgery. He talked about Dr. C.V. Raman effect. Now, there's a now COVID-19 rapid testing. So they're trying to use the Raman effect as a simple instrument. You spit on a tube and then take a picture, and then that's it. You can you can take this. They put on the aluminum foil kind of a slide and then put it there inside, and it tells you whether they have a COVID or not, because it is checking the vibrational rotational spectrum. One of even a simple very least number of molecules is enough for to detect COVID. Surface, they use a surface enhanced Raman scattering. It's a very popular field. Surface enhanced scattering is so aluminum foil is, sometimes they use a gold plate, all those things. So there is a aluminum foil, aluminum surface, or the gold surface they use. So that is a surface enhanced Raman spectroscopy they call. It itself is own field actually. So they do antigen for home kits, transport, all the reagents are all right now with the COVID testing, it still is a big process. You need antigen home kits, you need transportation, you need reagents. So if you want a PCR test, you need to go through a huge process. So Raman spectroscopy is instant and it is correct. So that's so breast cancer is another one. Biochemical changes, you can vibrational spectrum can detect the biochemical changes very easily. So the Raman, they're using a spectroscopy. So they wanted to use this some kind of a vibrational spectrum, maybe infrared camera they can attach to the iPhone or some simple system. They use it can detect the cancers. That's on the future in making. They're working on it. So Raman, counterfeit drugs, you can tell in India we have a lot of counterfeit drugs. That's a big problem. So you can take a Raman's thing, you can check the particularly diabetic medicines. We can ask Dr. Attili, I don't know much about India. India's the problem about counterfeit drugs in the United States is tough, but in other countries there's a lot of counterfeit drugs. In fact, one company was a big company was fined recently. They send their counterfeit drugs to the amoxicillin to children in Rwanda, even though it's a small companies, but India is a big country. So there are several companies are there, one or two companies, they do that. But now we have an instrument to check it, whether it's a counterfeit or not, through the library of molecules, whether it contains the real or some fake medicine they have. So right now, Raman spectroscopy is in the Mars. The Perseverance rover is checking for the life on the Mars. It can recognize the biological molecules. It's called Sherlock. It's called scanning habitable environmental with a Raman and a luminescence. That's the name. NASA comes with strange names. That's a name of it. Scanning habitable environmental with a Raman and a luminescence. Its Raman name is there. So it is detecting, it is looking for the biological life on the right now. It is at present looking for a biological life, alien life in the planet Mars. So so there is another one. There was a piece of thing, puppery they call at the time. Now it became a paper. So it was they found some cloth that's written there in the 2000 years ago. It is says that is talking about Jesus' wife. So there's a big controversy among the theologians here, Christians and theologians. I'm not a Christian, but a lot of people, there's a big controversy about it. But they wanted to check whether it is really that thing is authenticate, is a 2000 years old, is that with the ink that is written there. Raman spectroscopy, they used the Raman spectroscopy to validate it. It validated that is a 2000 years old. That's during the Jesus time came out. That is whether Jesus is married or not, but that rewriting came from during that time. So I leave that rest to your imagination. So Raman is ask, always he said that ask the right questions and the nature will open the doors to your secrets. That's absolutely true. Any physicist can tell. Dr. Attili is an oncologist. We will bring him back and he can tell his father is a physicist. I'm proud of that. In fact, let me bring him back. So, Dr. Attili, thank you for listening. What do you think of this, Raman? We are from India. Actually, he studied in Andhra University. His father who used to work as a professor in Andhra University, and Raman studied this for a while in Vizag, Voltaire. So we are not acknowledging our own scientists from India. What do you think of his contributions and everything?
Absolutely. I mean, it's fascinating to hear because this is a science which we were not taught in our medical schools. We were taught about the CT scans, PET scans, and MRIs. Okay, and the surgeons, you travel in a bus or a jet, you hardly care who invented it. So that's there in the materialistic world today. But it's equally important to acknowledge the hardship, the time they spent, the intellect they spent. It's very important. And I can definitely say one of the things which I'm using now, and I'm correlating as I speak, is that I use a SAS scan, that's a light put in the mouth, and I'll know which is a cancerous region. Now, probably it is a Raman effect. You need to say, tell whether it is right or wrong,
Yeah,
right? So that they use algorithms, what they call artificial intelligence. There is nothing like artificial intelligence.
that's
So then if it is artificial, it is not intelligent. If it is intelligent, it is natural,
it's
right?
nice.
Right. So so but yes, I do use it. I do use equipment, a special wavelength of light which illuminates the cancer cells because they have a different DNA. Probably it's a Raman effect. I don't know whether it's a scatter or a pass through. I left physics in
Yeah,
1990. It's
yeah.
33 years. I still have some basics, but not as professional as you.
Yeah, no. So
So
I went into healthcare. I'm not a doctor, but I've spent a lot of time in healthcare industry. But so actually, that's more is important is inspiration. What caused them to
right.
invent these things with the limited resources? That is the more important. So that's why once you acknowledge that, we get the same inspiration. Hey, we don't need to have $1 billion to invent or discover something. You can have with the limited resources. You can always. We need the money, of course, but it's also same time you can discover a lot of things with the limited resources with a good mind. That's what the Indians did in this country and India in India those old days. With the limited resources. So that. Dr. Atili, tell me about your background a little bit. So you're oncologist, you're practicing right now, and you also teach you're practicing which hospital?
I do practice in continental hospitals and I do teach also. I'm a board of medical oncology in the National Board of Examination in Government of India. So I do decide or help in deciding the curriculum, what to be taught and then how to be taught. Probably, definitely, I'll take some cues from what the interaction that we have today. Absolutely, we need to go back to basics sometimes. At least one day in 3 years of curriculum, at least, right?
Yes.
So that's where I practice. My interests are predominantly into hemato-oncology, colon, and breast. So this is where I subspecialize.
So if India needs what? If I ask you a question, if India needs help in the cancer arena, what are the things you think any other people can help to India to progress in healthcare awareness, cancer awareness, or cancer detection or cancer treatment? What are the things needed from other countries, like advanced countries like United States, besides money? And what else you need? What are the things you think will help in India?
So predominantly, I can say people should come out of these bad lifestyles, use of less pesticides. We can't get rid of those things. So it's more of a population movement that has to happen at this. This is, I think, we are already late in terms of adopting the good lifestyle. We are at least 2 decades late, right? So even if you don't act now, it's more dangerous than global warming sort of thing. So we should focus more on health education, awareness. That's very important, but that's a long-term goal. Short-term goal, I always say that we need to have point of care diagnostics. I don't want a PET scan to go to Tanuku or Attili or some other village and then just, I can't afford it, honestly.
Yeah,
So
correct.
I need to have something like this,
Yeah.
right? A mobile phone, okay? And I should be able to tell. I need not diagnose. I should triage. That's it. You are looking like a cancer. Remaining things let the hospitals do. So screening tests are not confirmatory tests. Screening
Do you,
tests
s-
only triage.
do you see more and more young people are getting cancers? Even in the United States, recently there was article in CNN. There's young people are getting cancers here in the United States. Is it happening in India also? You see more and more young people are getting cancer.
Yes, two reasons. We have access to bad lifestyle much earlier now. Sedentary lifestyle, tobacco consumption, and other things. So we are seeing a lot of younger patients. And second, nature has cursed us with a element called genetic anticipation. So if your father had diabetes at 80, you develop at 75. Your son developed at 70, grandson at 65. So the diseases happen much earlier because there is a attrition that happens in the genes. We call it a telomere. Different names are there. Let's not go into the names. But yeah, genetic anticipation along with bad lifestyle adoption and early, I say, 1980 figures, the median age of cancer in India was 50s. Now it is 38, 12 years
So
younger.
So if there are two requirements, is like one is a huge nutritional change, cultural change in the lifestyle, which is the what the kind of foods they eat, and then particularly these computer programmers, they need a little bit of exercise and all those things. So they're sitting in front of the desktop like me or laptop like me. So that's kind of the lifestyle has to be changed. And then second thing is point of care diagnostics. These two things will help India into the next level. That's what you're saying, right? Yeah.
Yes,
That,
absolutely. Slightly put.
what is your email? Email they want to reach you, Dr. Suresh. Anybody wants to reach your email? What is your email?
It's Attili VSS, ATTILI VSS @gmail.com. You can reach out to my personal ID or you can reach out to suresh.avs at continentalhospitals.com. Either ways.
So you're in a continental hospital. People can easily
Yeah.
find you. Thank you. It's a truly an honor, sir, to talk with you. It's a extra additional privilege for me to talk with the son of a physicist. That is more, and a oncologist on the top of it. It is a really truly privilege and an honor for me. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure is mine.